Okay. This is for the Ascendant team, all of us, right? Holders, owners of the Ascendant. I have NFTs, so this is it's a work in progress, right? This is I'll share that in a bit. This is Ouroboros, all right? This piece is hot, in my humble opinion, as the creator, just with other divine forces, if you understand my drift. This piece is being weathered. This is an old piece. It's got mushrooms growing in it. And I'm, see, it's got mycelium growing. This one, this carving, this is a controversial one. Okay. It's about, yeah, this is the Tight Next Totem, Dragon X, Eros, Blaze, Shogun, X28, okay? Helios up top, right? Helios. Oh. All right. Whew. Whew. All right. So there's a change in the air. Something has flipped. It's Monday, at least in the calendar, like the whatever the Roman calendar that MORPH HQ Irwin. Yeah, man. We're kicking it off. This is the party. Yeah, Morpheus is going to be the focus here. Part of it is because I'm studying, right? And I don't want to make it easy for anyone to buy anything, honestly. So that's why I'm not giving any links, and I'm not saying you should buy this, or I'm not saying you should buy that. I'm really not. And Morpheus, in my studies and what I'm learning and what I'm starting to see is, and so yeah, all right. I got distracted, Erwin. Oh man. So the carvings, oh yeah, so I think that means I need to carve a white rabbit. Actually, I need to carve a rabbit. Ooh, I actually have a rabbit. Um, yeah, it's actually a rabbit headdress. Um, huh. All right. So Morpheus. Okay. So positivity. Let's start with the last thing I wrote up here. Let's see. Great. And it's good on my StreamYard. I write what it's about, and then it keeps it as a header, so it keeps me focused. Because left to my own devices, that's good. Love it. Yeah, man. What was I gonna say? Keep on distracting me. I'm sending vibes to you over in where you are. I think you are like I'm facing east right now, and I suspect where you are is southeast. Right, so I'm sending vibes down to you. and also sending vibes down to Brandon, right? Because Brandon and Erwin are, at least for me, the visual forces, the creative entrepreneurial forces behind Morpheus, right? Are correct. Thanks, bro. Yeah. So I'm sending like all positivity, um, southeast, right? All positivity. Okay, so bridge to Pulsechain now. Yes, the short thing is Pulsechain has broken through, right? Richard Hart has broken through. That diverse community that's been trampled and has broken through, right? It's hit the bottoms and it's bouncing off the bottoms. Hex, everyone left for dead. I still have two. I looked at Icosa, which is where I track my hex stakes. I was like, ooh, I've got two more coming out. Um, and I did hex stakes differently. I did them to partially live off of as passive income stream, and it's worked really well, right? So I don't, hex isn't like my baby. I have other babies, but I like to use hex. It hasn't been like the store of value that but it's likely that we're about to see hex explode, right? Which is cool. Okay, so bridge to Pulsechain now. Morpheus, I see Morpheus, thanks to all of our crypto investigators, our on-chain gang, right? Now, I don't follow wallets. I do look at who's selling the bottoms and who's promoting the tops. I do, because those are bottom and top signals. Those are the two places where I look. So that's why I see who's been selling Titan X bottoms, who's been selling at the bottoms. Okay, so bridge to Pulsechain now. Morpheus. Oh yeah, I don't follow but Crypto Connoisseur, who I really like. Shout out to Crypto Connoisseur. Your charts are elegant, particularly and simple, particularly for early stage, highly volatile, very hard to chart. A lot of people say you can't chart these things. Well, I don't know. Certain people seem to be doing pretty well. And so Crypto Connoisseur, both I know loves MORPH and PTGC and ORX. And so he's a man after my heart. And he pointed out that there's, I think, 2% of the Morpheus supply on the Pulsechain bridge waiting to do something. And then I also saw on the Morpheus website that there's a bridge Morpheus, right? And so for me, that's exciting. And it's not even about like owning everything. What I've learned about a lot of stuff is we can't really own it. We can hold it. Like we can care for it. We can grow it. But owning stuff leads to, I mean, there's certain stuff like I want to own my land so that nobody can take it. I want to own my apartment so that no one can take it. I'm not saying that I want to do away with private property. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that like around crypto holding, being a holder, because when I own something, I can own it and then sell it, and then I don't own it. But when I'm holding it, I'm really holding it, right? And I'm typically using it for something. That's how I am. So with Morpheus, it's a really interesting meme, first of all. And Erwin Morpheus HQ is a brilliant communicator through his art, right? And through imagery and through storytelling. which is why this is like the perfect role. And I imagine Brandon came to Irwin, but I don't know how you guys know each other, probably from way back. But um, that collaboration really seems to work. And so when I see Morpheus bridging to Pulsechain, I'm thinking, I want a part of that. Like, how do I get a piece of that? Like, why, right? That makes me, that's the demand equation for me. Like, when I really want something, and it's not even FOMO. I've had plenty of time to accumulate things. It's not FOMO. It's not fear of missing out. It's more like desire to be part of something bigger than myself, right? High integrity X's, not just frickin' pump and dump schemes, not just like low vibe extractor bot crap. That's not to say that there's not a role for our bots. There is. But when I start hearing about extractor bots, that's low vibe. I don't understand them, but I'm studying them now. It's low vibe because a lot of people don't like when we expose. They're like, oh, keep it positive. Yes, exactly. To keep it positive, we have to expose and morph like the low vibes, the like greed and the deceit, the outright lies need to be exposed, not through attacks, but through light, exposure through light. So I'm going to start studying, and anybody who understands, like, like anybody that has information that's really good on-chain information to share with me, with us, please do so, about extractor bots, where they are, how we shed light on them and eliminate them if they're not high integrity X's, right? So what is a high integrity X? Exponential growth, 1,000x, a 2x. That's amazing. In most investment arenas, right? A 2x, right, is amazing. Double my money. That's amazing. In crypto, so many of us are spoiled by X's, by the adrenaline of 100x and the negativity of a minus 99%. Like people who have learned, like I have, to deal with the volatility by remaining personally balanced, right? And not letting my emotions get taken over, either the highs of the 200x or the lows of the minus 99%, right? So that's the first way. So high integrity X's starts with high integrity people. This is people of the word. Like the word is bond, which is why sometimes when people don't talk a lot, it's, you know, it's unarming, disarming sometimes, confusing, right? Because so many of us, right? A lot of talking heads, a lot of talking shit, right? Which is part of my, when I got asked to do this, and I did get asked to do this, to be a consistent communicator, and I accepted it, and then I took responsibility for making it my own and doing it a way that doesn't disrupt my life and feeds my life and doesn't, become part of an egoic pursuit. Because part of my mission at this point in my life is to burn off the ego. That's not to say that there's a healthy part of the ego, but the human egoic self, this self-consciousness sometimes inhibits our my ability. I'll speak to relate with self, to relate with others at an authentic level. So high integrity X's, yeah, I want a 10x at least at this point in the cycle, right? At least. And I am very well positioned to do that, I believe. And like for me at least, I want to align my investments with my values. And sometimes in crypto, it's hard to see underneath the hood enough. And so what I look for in terms of high integrity X's, so yes, I want a 10X. I actually believe I have at least one 100X in my bags, at least one, because of how I've positioned things. Morpheus, like, and also I don't want to do timing. Like X is more about, is less about price and more about value accrual. And for me, yes, in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, or however long this next stage of this bullish cycle is, I do want to capitalize it because I'm going to use it. I'm going to use my 10X, my 100X, my 1000X. The first thing I'm going to do is stabilize it so that, because the volatility, we have to learn how to capture the value of the volatility. So we buy low, and if we're going to sell, we sell on the way up. There are other ways now to hold high integrity assets, right? And not have to sell them so that we don't have to, where I am, pay capital gains tax, and so that I can hold the equity, hold the asset. And at this point in the cycle, I'm only holding things that I think are going to survive and thrive beyond this bullish cycle into the bearish times. And so, okay, high integrity exits. It starts with the people. That means the team. Now, the Morpheus team, as I understand it, has a team of developers that are doing the code, right? And then they have a team of, I'm just going to call it the business team. It's the people who, or it's the founding team, right? Who do everything, are responsible for everything. And what I've come down to about Morph and Switch is that these are high integrity people. And this is my judgment without knowing any of these people in person, though watching and being a student of leaders and humbling myself to any judgments. Including this idea, this last idea, which is, and I'm sorry if I get banned, this is the Bronx in me coming out. Fuck politics. Okay? Fuck it. I'm not saying politicians, because what I'm doing here is I'm modeling how I separate the people from the problem. Okay? I'm not going to attack anybody here, but the problem is profound. Okay? And I've studied this, okay, mostly in war zones and mostly in conflict zones and mostly through my digesting of that in my art and also in my parenting and, wanting to be the best father possible. How do I model for my son who's now 18? I've grown him up pretty much on my own for the last 18 years. How do I model for him integrity in this society where there is a dearth of high integrity leaders, right? And so it's time we take all the politicians and all of the billionaires and all of the highfalutin quote unquote leaders, we take them off of the thrones. We treat them like human beings, like we all are. And I say, fuck politics. That's not to say that we don't need governance. Okay. And I got into a mini battle with some people in the Titanx ecosystem months back in the political cycle. And they were like dancing and parading about politics. And I'm like, this is not politics. Like, what we can agree on is that we're investors here, right? And yes, maybe the investor game gets benefited by the political wins, but at the end of the day, like, I don't trust politics. And when I hear a protocol owner saying everything's about politics, he lost me. And I don't need to name him. I know who he is. He knows who he is. And I have been challenging him recently for a failure to identify with ethics and ethos. So high integrity X's in crypto starts with the team. And Morpheus is straddling. And so I'm going to do maybe what the owners of Morpheus can't do, is make the connections between Morpheus and Switch. And I don't know what they are, but I'm going to hypothesize here. And I'm going to tell you also why I feel like Morpheus as a meme coin, it's going to have store of value potential if we can create a diamond hand holder group among in the culture. Okay. And I believe it's going to be a scarce asset. And I believe that I saw people were dialoguing on X about that Morpheus needed a bigger buy and burn, right? And maybe it does, because I haven't really looked at I think over 25% is burned of the supply. But like, burning is one thing. It's important, but the bigger thing at this point is the demand equation. Is because, like, at the end of the day, burning is a long-term scarcity strategy, right? Because if we're holding a token and it's being burnt, then my percentage, my share of ownership of the supply, is increasing, right? So for me, the burning is important. Maybe MORPH needs a buy and burn, but I suspect that's where Switch is going to come in. There is going to be a connection between Switch, which has a very interesting modular scaling strategy. It's like you scale Switch through the widgets, I think, right? And probably through like the ease and the grace of the user experience. So if we can, for example, with Switch, actually, compete and change the narrative, like, there's no reason why Switch can't outcompete Uniswap, And this idea of like switching can be a thing, right? So I suspect without knowing that there is going to be fee generation in Switch that will somehow help Morpheus, whether or not it's through buy and burn or some fee sharing arrangement, because fee sharing is the other part of the demand equation when a protocol like Switch, and I don't know what the fees will be or what they are or how they scale. I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure that Brandon and team have, right? So, right. And so what I see is like a team that has like an off the charts meme that Morpheus is not going away, right? This is gonna just, it's sort of like PTGC. Like the aliens are not leaving; they're gonna keep on coming back. PTGC and Morpheus, like in a way, are like the match made in Pulsechain heaven, right? In terms of the memes, other than teddy bear, because that's Richard Hart's, and I love teddy bears and I love bears, and so I'm a bear. I'm a bear guy, but I'm also a PTGC guy. I'm an ethos guy, and I'm a Morpheus guy, right? And morph. So anyway, okay, I'm all over the road here, but so the idea is around, and I don't want to disrespect politicians. I don't, because I don't like, because I have worked for politicians a bunch, mostly as a mediator. So I haven't had to answer to them directly. I haven't, but I've been hired by four different, no, three different mayors in New York City to do violence interruption, either mediating or whatever. And it could be corporate, it could be community, it could be what at school, it could be anything. So I don't want to disrespect politicians, but I am saying, like, let's not make this about politics. Let's not make this about right and left. Let's not make this about conservative and progressive. Let's not. Because that I've learned in war zones and in conflict zones is that 99.9% of the time, like the people fighting are being sent by politicians and are fighting each other. And then what I've learned is that when we actually sit with people, whether or not it's the front lines or uh, or wherever, like 99.9% of the people just want to be left alone to take care of their kids and to make sure that they're fed and clothed and have you know you know peace and well-being. That's what I've learned, that people everywhere want that. So I don't know how I got here. High integrity X's. Oh, yes. Okay. So the thing is that like I like the diversity of opinion. I like being able to disagree and agreeing to disagree, but coming together around aligned values and interests. And when we're talking about decentralized finance, I know at least me, we're all doing it for our kids. Exactly. Yeah, Morpheus say we're doing this for our kids, all of us. Anybody that has been a parent or an aunt or an uncle, we're doing it not just to protect the kids. Like kids need protection. Let's be real, right? And not just my kids, all the kids, all of them. They all deserve to be having a childhood, right? They all do. And I don't believe this idea that some don't. Like I do believe that we are all children of God and we are all divine creatures, and we all need to be treated with the dignity and respect that we deserve. Okay, that's what I believe. And so how did I get here, man? Don't get me started. This is why it's dangerous to get me, a soapbox, right? Um, okay. So when I'm thinking about decentralized finance and where we have aligned interest, all of us, and we can like let go of politics and let go of region and let go of race and let go of religion and let go of all of the things that divide us. And we say, oh, what can we share? One, let's protect the little ones. Okay. And what that means is responsible adults. Enough said. Next, and so that's like one principle. That's my principle. Protect all the little ones. And it takes responsible adults in homes and families and communities and regions and all, even a whole planet, right? Let's just frickin' protect the little ones. And let's stop targeting like all of this. Like, no, we know that there's enough corruption and enough evil to go around that let's protect the little ones. Then I'm a freedom maxi, which is why, like, I'm not a Bitcoin or Ethereum or Titanx or I'm not a maxi. The closest I am to a maxi is ORX, Ouroboros, just because I don't know. It's the whole thing. It's yeah. That's the closest I am to a maxi. Oh, and Eros. So I'm a maxi. I'm not a maxi, but it's the closest I get. Ouroboros because from day one, Shadowy was there with me in a dialogue, and I learned so much. And so that's like that. I'm a maxi for that, right? That means connection and relationship and understanding. And then Eros, I'm a maxi for a gift, receiving a gift and then maybe even fighting for it. And when someone tells, I'm a maxi for when someone tells me, don't do that, I'm going to say, I'm free to do it. Let me check it out. Let me make my own decision as a man. Don't tell me what to do. Because if anyone tells me what to do at this point in my life, you know what I'm going to say, right? That's not to say that I can't be influenced. I can be influenced, but I have this rebellious spirit that says, right, right, okay. Um, so freedom maxi, which is why even though like I did struggle with Richard Hart as a leader, but I also respect him as a leader. And I knew what Richard Hart was doing, he was doing for, even though I also know that he wants the glory. He said it. This is a mature enough guy, even though he's not ultimately mature. He's mature enough to have humbled himself to something and said, look, I'm here for the glory. I have the money. I have the women. You see, I can get whatever I want. He's feeding another bone, which is some glorious the reason why I truly went into Pulsechain was because I respected how he was doing it. A lot of people didn't like I'm going to talk about bridging to Pulsechain now. Like why? Well, there is going to be people are like, well, I don't like it operationally. It's not perfect. I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's a decentralized blockchain. Over 50,000 nodes worldwide. Very hard to break break it. It's about to have upgrades in privacy features. I'm sure that there's going to be a native stablecoin, whether or not it's PDI or another one. I'm sure that's going to happen. So freedom is very important to me, right? And part of it is because my people were not always free, right? And so when we have tasted the absence of freedom, right? Freedom becomes very important, right? And yeah, And along with freedom goes responsibility. I used to talk about justice, like yes and no. And don't get me started with it, okay? Because I'm not your lawyer, but I am my own lawyer, okay? And if I don't mind saying so, I'm a really good lawyer. And I don't practice law anymore for a reason. I still mediate. People call me all the time to get legal advice, and I don't give legal advice anymore. I have lawyers for that. I just use my understanding of the law either to hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable, one, to the extent there is some law. So freedom goes with responsibility. And like that's why it's part of the reason why I like Morpheus and Switch is because the word of the founders. I can just tell. Why? Because I've been listening and I've been following and I've been studying. And I've come to the conclusion that for me, this is a high integrity team that I'm learning from, that I'm participating with, and will be a source of high integrity X's. Okay. Now, I was thinking about Morph because I was like, all right, like, what do I want to do with like where? And part of it is I'm not a big holder. But there are a lot of big holders of Morph. There are strong believers, right? Which is part of like when I'm learning about crypto is especially in these early stage startups. I think it's really important to get a very strong holder group of people with large bags that have shared principles and values in terms of the health and the well-being of the protocol, right? I don't really know how you do that, but it does seem to me that Morpheus is that kind of protocol that could really build high integrity holders around the founding group. Like people will be attracted to Morpheus because of the team and because of the scarcity and because of eventually the utility. That's what I was going towards with there. You know, if there were like a way, not just to stake, not necessarily to stake Morpheus, but if there was a way to hold Morpheus and to make like a percentage, like a fee sharing percentage, that's like to the moon, right? Because then somehow you've got like meme plus the finance, right? And then you have not just the scarcity, but you've got, and I'm sure that you guys are thinking about this. It's not like I'm just freestyling, freestyling about Morpheus. And so anyway, I saw, I see that there's supposedly 2% of Morpheus on the Pulsechain bridge. I'm like, right on. Now, why is that good? Well, it's good for the Ethereum side because then it creates less sell pressure, less supply, easier to pump, right? I've also been reading about Morpheus and Dragon X, right? And like when I read, and I want to stay all positive, right? But when I read that there are maybe bots attached to that pair, I'm like, why? Or maybe it's good. I don't know. Someone educate me. Okay. Um, but what I do know is that Morpheus needs to be free. Morpheus needs to be free, just like a lot of the Titan X protocols need to be free from the strictures and the limitations that exist. So Morpheus, when I see Morpheus flying over the bridge, I'm like, right on. Let's get Morpheus on Liberty Swap Finance, right? Let's get Liberty Swap Finance, like seeing Morpheus, right? And so that's one thing. I mean, it's easy to bridge. We can all bridge, but also, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way to buy Morpheus through Liberty Swap Finance, even buy Morpheus on Pulsechain, right? Through Liberty Swap, direct, right? We, you know, I can basically go now from my Zelle to USDC and to PDI. Wouldn't it be nice if I could go from Zelle or something like that, which is like one of these digital payment apps? Wouldn't it be nice if I could go from Zelle to MORPH on Pulsechain, right? So that would be cool. The other thing I'd like to experiment with, like, I know that like this is a strategic decision for the team, but it's also for the community of holders to think about like where are the deep Morpheus pairs? Like where does Morpheus really want to have depth in the liquidity that it's building on Pulsechain? I don't know. That's for like big holders, for liquidity providers, and I'll follow. I'm not like a big liquidity provider, but I follow people. I go where people who know better than I do are building liquidity web. So like on Pulsechain, that's why I have Eros, and I'm in the Eros bear pair, right? Because now I have Eros, which is leverage on leverage on leverage from Titan X, in a pair with bear, which is about to explode, right? And so I'm good holding both of those. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what to do with Morph? Like, where is Morph gonna pair? What are gonna be the deep pairs? And I don't know. I'm just asking the question. People smarter than me will figure this out, and then I'll follow. But because I'm holding, like, it won't be the first ones. The first ones to pair with Morpheus are the cores from Titan X. So it could be Morpheus and Dragon X if people like it. But maybe people don't like it because of what's happening on Ethereum. I don't really know. So it could be Morpheus and Titan X on Pulsechain. It could be Morpheus and Pulsar, right? Pulsar is a Pulsechain derivative of Titan X. It's one of the base tokens. And then I imagine that Morpheus would do really well with all these leverage on leverage on leverage plays. And at the top, I'd like to pair Eros with Morpheus, right? But I don't have enough of it to do. I can't lead it, but I'll follow. So, okay, high integrity X's. High integrity X's, yeah. So it's high integrity team, um, people that we can trust their word, just because, like, what I like to do with the words is look at the actions, because words are easy. I like to follow the actions, right? And I like when people talk less but demonstrate more. It's why I have this internal conflict with myself about doing this, which is why I'm doing it, because it's a challenge. Because historically, I would prevent myself from doing something like this because I know I'm best when I'm talking less. I've learned this. Okay. I've learned, me personally, that I'm best when I'm listening, literally and metaphorically, and that's when I'm best. So my practice, even for doing this, is not to prepare at all except for the themes, and then to do something before it, carving, that gets me in the flow. So I don't edit myself and I don't become like a robot and I don't become like a typical whatever. I just want to be me, right? I just want to like be real at this point. Okay. And I also want to pump our bags, right? That's part of this. And pump our bags means, and it doesn't mean that I have to own everything. Like, for example, I don't own Blaze or Inferno, but when I see that there has been a reshuffling of the team and now there's a team of two for Blaze, I'm like, right on, guys. That's Allie in Utah, right? Right on. Right. I want those guys to win it. They've been consistent, 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 right? And so yeah. And so Blaze belongs on Pulsechain too. And so does Inferno. Like I think there's 2% of Inferno destined for Pulsechain. Like I guess I would ask the Inferno community and crew, whoever is the holders, like, where do you guys want to like hook up, right? Where should we hook up over on Pulsechain so that everyone wins, and that together we educate, we onboard, and we pump each other's bags, right? So yeah, and that's the beauty of of what's happening in the Titanx ecosystem. Really, is that what it has spawned are sub communities and protocols that are out spreading high integrity X's, right? So the dude team, high integrity X's, the MORPH switch team, high integrity X's. See what's happening? People are expanding. The smoke team, right? High integrity X's. Expanding. The Ouroboros team, high integrity X's. The Eros team, high integrity X's. Eros is on a beautiful pullback now. It's great. Why? Because there's a big seller. I've heard it's one of the original team. Right on. You don't want to hold it. If you got a better place for it, sell it, right? It gives other people a way to get in, right? High integrity X is in Eros, partially because there are no people in charge. I'm still holding 5 airdrops, right? 5 of them. And I got 5 airdrops and I'm still holding every single one of them. And I've accumulated more. Why? There's no humans involved. I don't even have to think about it. The only humans are involved are the holders. And Peter, the Eros teddy bear God King, right, who people have been listening to, is an anonymous guy who I communicate with on a regular basis through audio. And now I know his strategy, right? And part of it is to transform Eros into Eros X, which is a non-fee version of Eros. I like that. If I don't want to, I don't have to sell Eros now at all. I prefer not to. I prefer to hold it. I prefer to be a whale. I'm like, I can be a whale in Eros. I can be, depending on what happens over in Ouroboros, I can be a whale over in Ouroboros too. A humble one. Just because I'm in early at the lows. That's it. That's the only reason why. And because I made a commitment to myself and to the protocol. So high integrity X's are being spawned out of Titan X. And I've got my eyes on who are the high integrity Titan X teams and protocols. I got my eyes on it right now, and I've got my shades on it. Right. And it's a murky water right now. Another high integrity team is the Ascendant team. Shout out to Lee and Sal. Those two guys, also Anon, even though I think Sal might have shown your face, bro. Right? I think he did. I don't know. But other high integrity team and X's that will grow out of Ascendant protocol. And I'm seeing hints. I don't know what it is, but I see Builder Lee bullishly giving hints about utility and liquidity. And that says to me, Ascend. Now, all of my Ascend is in NFTs just because I like holding those NFTs. And I've transferred them. I transferred them to people because I think they're cool gifts. Early on, we were getting Dragon X passive income. And I suspect that the Ascendant team is cooking up a way to make not just scarcity for Ascend, but a demand equation. Something that's going to want, I'm going to, if not need it, want it. And want it badly because it's going to be very scarce. And again, a very tight holder group, probably Diamond Hand, that's going to want utility and passive income. And, you know, because the protocols, I see this, the protocols reflect the people who build them. It's the developers, the builders, the entrepreneurs, the investors, who's ever building the protocol, not just the code, but the culture reflects the builder, the developer, the founders. And so that's why I go back to choosing my cryptos based on the founders. And sometimes it's hard to tell. Like Richard Hart has been a really hard call for me. Like people that followed me into Pulsechain and Hex and PulseX are like, bro, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with him? Like, how could you believe this is a good investment? And granted, it's been a struggling investment, but it's like the hypothesis is actually right, which is that Richard Hart is a gamer. And he's also a billionaire. He doesn't have an ego that's driving his whatever, but this is about his capital that's about to back some of these things, right? Some of these assets. Okay, 54 minutes. It's probably time. Oh, I have a work call. I have to prepare my brain at least for half hour. I have to get out of crypto because if I'm in crypto when I do my other work, I start talking crypto automatically because crypto is on my brain, right? It's not only is it part of how I support my family and build wealth, it's part of it. But it's also become a passion of mine. It's something that I really like to do. It's like I'm investing in my freedom, right? And I'm investing in my wealth, and I'm investing in my autonomy, right? And so the more that I find myself structuring my time around crypto, the more that I find myself taking it seriously, the more I find myself having to educate about it, the better it is, right? Because then I'm taking myself and it seriously. Which is, okay, one last editorial comment about leaders. Okay, so I've been in the privileged position of leading some teams and enterprises and operations, but also from that experience leading, being, let's just say, a leadership coach. I don't really, I'm a soccer coach and a basketball coach. I don't really typically don't like the whole coaching paradigm around coach for everything. Not to say that a violin coach isn't important, a basketball, no, it's just that like it's hard to be a great coach and there's too many coaches, right? And so, but what I can say is that people hire me to be a leadership coach, partially because of my ability to close the door and to speak truth to power, right? One of the things that I've learned that I've had to do in working with people in positions of power and authority, sometimes they're military leaders, and sometimes they're political leaders, and sometimes they're business leaders, and sometimes they're community leaders, and sometimes they're nonprofit leaders, and sometimes they're family leaders, and, and decentralized network leaders. What I find myself having to say is, like, take myself more seriously. Like, don't just be a leader, prepare yourself. Like, make sure that before I come out and if I'm going to be a thought leader in crypto, for example, if it's true that 70 people are actually watching this, if it's true, I have no idea, but that's what my thing says. If it's true that 70 people on a Monday morning, my Monday morning, actually watching, that means that I have to take myself seriously. I have to prepare myself. I have to be of service, right? Or else, like, I'm not practicing what I preach. Because what I do in my job as a leadership coach is to hold leaders accountable. Almost never do leaders get held accountable. Top leaders almost never get held accountable, which is a big part of the problem. Who's going to hold the president accountable? Who's going to hold the mayor accountable? Who's going to hold the CEO? Who's going to hold the owner of the admin keys of the buy and burn accountable? Nobody, right? And leaders without constructive accountability are dangerous, which is why I believe in what I do. I feel like it's part of my job to hold people in positions of power and authority accountable to the people that they're meant to serve. Yes, and it's servant leadership. That's the style of leadership we humans deserve. Not greedy, egocentric, violently. No. Servant leaders, those who are meant to serve people, uplift people, deliver on the promise for people, right? And so in decentralized finance, when I see promises, I'm going to hold people accountable to them, right? Like Richard Hart used to diss all the promise coins. And then I had to check, and I said, is Pulsechain just a promise chain? Are these just promises? And the value of the brand is in direct correlation with delivery on the promise. The promise is meaningless. Meaningless. It's delivery on the promise. That's the brand integrity, right? So if we go back to MORPH, I remember way back when, and I didn't understand Brandon when he was talking, but I understand that he had to be respectful of his role and respectful of people that were going to invest time and money and energy. And he had to be respectful. And so he was discreet And he is still discreet about what he shares about the connection between Morpheus and Switch. That says to me, I trust that because I know he's straddling his roles and doing it in I think, a really constructive way. And also, he's a business owner, right? His build business is a business. And so he's got to respect all of the boundaries here. And I feel like he's doing that. I don't know all the details, but I follow and I listen. I feel like he's doing that. And that is admirable. All right. I got to get to work. Peace out, y'all. I hope this has been, I don't know, Morpheus helpful, high integrity X is helpful. It's been good for me to get it off my chest. Peace out.